Welcome to this video. On this video we are going to talk about how do we find the area under a curve. Okay, you know how to find out the area of a rectangle, right? You know how to find out area of a triangle, but we don't know how to find area of this shape, right? If you have one side irregular, we don't know how to find out the area here. So we use antiderivative to find out the area under this curve. Okay, so we use antiderivative for that. Okay, so before we start how to find the area under a curve, let's do some of the review on the how do we write the summation notation. Okay, the notation, so this notation, how do we write this? We write a line first and then do like that. Okay, so this notation is called sum notation. Summation we call summation. Okay, if there is summation I runs from 1 through n, I equals to 1 through n means, and then if there is a sub I, then what we do is we write I equals to 1 and then write this is summation. So you write plus and then write I equals to 2 and then plus and continue that way, and then write up to the last value of I plus a sub n. Okay, this is how we write this is the expanded form of the sum. This is the shortcut or the summation notation, right? Sum using the summation notation. Let us see some examples. Number one is find I equals to 1 through 5, 1 over 2i plus 3. What we do is we write down I equals to 1. How much you get? 1 over 2 times 1 plus 3 is 1 over 5, right? Plus write down I equals to 2. What do you get? 1 over 2 times 2 is 4 plus 3 is 7. 1 over 7 plus. If you write down 3, you will get 1 over 9 plus. If you write down 4, you will get 1 over 11 plus. If you write down 5, you will get 1 over 13, right? And if you use calculator to find the sum, what do you get? The total sum of this will becomes is 0.6218. 0.6218. Okay, so on the second example, you have n runs from 2 through 4 and then n over n squared minus 1. You see that there is one n on the top and one n on the bottom there. So you'll have to plug in, when you plug in 2, you'll have to plug in both places, right? And then plus, and then plug in 3, and then plus, plug in 4, and so on. So let's plug in 2. What do you get? 2 over 2 squared is 4 minus 1 is 2 over 3, right? And then plus, so here is 3 over 3 square minus 1 is 3 over 8, right? Plus 4, plug in 4. 4 over 4 square is 16 minus 1 is 4 over 15. Okay, the value of the sum. So there are some formula, but before that, what we do is if there is a sum of a number constant k times the ai, what you can do is you can pull that k out. Okay, you can pull the k outside and then do the summation of ai only. That's what it says. And the next formula is if there is sum of two terms ai plus bi, then you can distribute this sum to ai and then plus and then sum of bi. You can do that too. Okay, so these are the some basic rule of sum, but there are some more rules. If there is I equals to 1 through n c, if you are adding a constant c and then n times, this is like c times n, right? This is the formula number 1. So if you are adding a constant, if you have a summation of a constant, it will be the what you do is when I is 1, it will be c. When I is 2, it will be c. So it will like c plus c plus c plus c plus c n times. So if you factor out c, then you will get 1 plus 1 plus 1 n times. So that is c times n. That's formula number 1. Okay. Formula number 2 is if you have a sum of I, that means you plug in 1 and then plus, plug in 2, plus, plug in 3, and then it is like 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 and so on up to n through n, right? If you do that, then you will get the formula will be n times n plus 1 over 2. N times n plus 1 over 2. Okay, that number times that number plus 1 over 2. If there is I square instead of I to the 1, if there is I to the 2, it will be like 1 square plus plug in 2, 2 square plus plug in 3, 3 square plus 4 square plus 5 square, like that. If there are n many terms, then the formula is n times n plus 1 times 2n plus 1 over 6. And the fourth formula is IV is, if there is sum of the I cubed, that means 1 cubed plus 2 cubed plus 3 cubed, because the plus is from the summation, right? So 1 cube plus 2 cube plus 3 cube plus 4 cube plus 5 cube. If you are adding that n numbers, then it will be n squared times n plus 1 squared over 4. But you should be careful. All these sum formula, they starts with 1, right? You see that? 1, it starts with 1, start with 1. So you should have 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 here. Here you should have 1 squared plus 2 squared plus 3 squared plus 4. Here 1 cube, 2 cube, 3 cube, like that. Okay? So in that case, you can use this formula to find out them directly. Okay? So let's do this problem. The first problem is summation of 2i squared minus 3. What we can do is, there is minus in the middle, so you can apply that. So you can distribute the summation. So what you can do is, you can write summation of 2i squared minus summation of 3, right? And if you simplify that, you can pull that 2 out, because that formula says that if there is a constant, you can take that out. So it is I equals to 1 through 5. We cannot forget that I equals to 1 through 5, right? So what do you get? You get 2 out, summation 1 through 5, and then I squared, right? And then minus, so what is the sum of the constant? Sum of the constant, C, is C times the N. What is N? N is 5 here, right? So 5 times 3. That's what you get, okay? Now, 2 times. What is the formula for sum of I square? Sum of I square is formula number 3. So N is 5 in our case. N is 5. So it is 5 times 5 plus 1 times 2 times 5 plus 1. It will look like this. N times n plus 1 times 2n plus 1 divided by 6 minus 5 times 3 is 15, right? So now cancel 6 and 6. What do you get? You get 5 times 2 is 10 times 11 is 110 minus 15. That will be 95. That's what you get. Okay, so next example is summation of I starting from 1 through 10, 2i plus 7. What you can do is, you can pull that 2 out and give the summation to I only. I equals to 1 through 10, and then plus summation of 7, right? I'm distributing that. I runs from 1 through 10. You see that? So what do you get there? So it is 2. The sum of I is the second formula, right? So what it says is, if there is n, then n into n plus 1, n times n plus 1 over 2. So that is 10 times 10 plus 1 over 2, right? So 10 times 11 over 2. That's what you get. You cancel 2 and 2. And then plus, so it is 7. When I is 1, it is 7. And then plus 7 plus 7 plus 7, it is 10 times. So it will be 10 n times c, right? 10 times 7. So what is the final answer then? Your final answer look like 10 times 11 is 110 plus 70. That will be 180. That's your final answer. Okay, guys. The last one is I minus 1 square. We don't have a formula of I minus 1 square, but we have formula for I square and then I. So what you do, you just FOIL this. It is I minus I times I minus 1. Let me write down that. So it is I starting from 1 through 7. I minus 1 through times I minus 1, right? So if you do I minus 1 times I minus 1, you do FOIL. I times I is I square. I times negative 1 is negative I, and then negative I, another negative I here, and then plus 1. So it will look like this. Summation of I runs from 1 through 7, and then you write I square minus 2i plus 1. You see that? Now you distribute that summation to all of them. So what you get here is equals to summation of I runs from 1 through 7, I square, right? And then minus 2, sum runs from I from 1 through 7, I, and then plus summation of I runs from 1 through 7, 1, right? So what is the first sum? The first sum is I square, the formula of I square, right? If it is n there, then n times n plus 1. But we have 7 here. So 7 times 7 plus 1 is 8, times 7 plus, times 2 plus 1 is 15. So you get 7 times 8 times 15 divided by 6. That's what the formula, right? And then minus 2 times. What is the sum of I formula? It is n times n plus 1 over 2. But what is our n? 7. So 7 times 8 over 2, right? And then plus sum of 1 7 times, right? 7 times 1. So because the formula is C times N. So what you get here is, if you use calculator, you will get so the answer is 91 here. Let's see one more example there. Write using the sum notation. So here this summation notation was given and then you were expanding that and finding the sum, but here you want to write using the sum notation only. Let's see how do I write this using the summation notation. So here let us first find out what number are not changing, okay, and if something is changing we will write that as I. So 7 7 7, so 7 is not changing. Let me write down summation here, and then there is 7, right, and then parenthesis. In each of those brackets there is a parenthesis. So the bottom number on the parenthesis is 6. So what we do is you write down 6 there, and the top number is, on the first bracket there is 1, on the second bracket there is 2, on the third bracket 3, and then on the sixth bracket there is 6. So what I would write is I write I, and then close the parenthesis, and 5 is not changing in any bracket, right? So plus 5. That's what it looks like. And how is that I? I is running from 1 through 6. You see that? When you plug in I equals to 1, you will get 7 times 1 over 6 plus 5. That's what you get. For I equals to 2, you will get 7 times 2 over 6 plus 5. That's the second one. And similarly for the 6, 7 times 6 over 6 plus 5. So this is the summation notation. Okay. So if you want to find the sum, how do you find the sum? What you do is, because this is 7 over, because this is 6 is a constant, you can pull that out. 7 over 6, you can write 7 over 6 and then summation I runs from 1 through 6, and then plus summation I runs from 1 through 6 and then 5, right? So how do you do that? This one will become 7 over 6, right? So what is the formula for summation of I? It is n times n plus 1 over 2, but here is 6, right? So it will be 6 times 7 divided by 2 plus this is n times c, right? So it is 30. So what do you get? You get 6 and 6 cancel out. So 7 times 7 is 49, right? Divided by 2 is 24.5 plus 30 is 54.5. That's what the... So that was some basic about the sum notation, basic review.